What's up, guys? Welcome back to Brass Tacks with Weapon X. All of our programming is brought to you by TrueNutrition.com. You can use our code THINK, or Derik, you have a code. Is it Weapon X? Is that your code?
Weapon X, that's the code. Yes, sir.
Check out True Nutrition. You can ask either of us about flavors and their products. We'd be happy to talk to you about that stuff. Also, if you are in Canada, check out supplementsource.ca. You can get great blowout deals on label change products, discontinued products, short-dated stuff like that. Plus, they have all your normal regular brand name stuff, too. So, welcome back to your show, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, Brass Tacks, baby.
Yeah, sir. How you been?
Oh, man. A lot of stuff has happened since the last episode. I got married. I don't know if I was married the last time we recorded.
You weren't. Congratulations. Neither was I. Let's see the ring.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Congratulations to you. Well, the actual ring. Oh, it's on my necklace. That's in the other room.
Okay.
But because I have this rubber one here, it actually looks like so the regular one. Ah, you got one too.
Yes, sir.
Well, I wore the real one all the time, and then it just got in the way of me training because I couldn't grab the barbell.
Yeah.
So Anastasia got me this little rubber one, and then I put the actual ring on one of my necklaces that I wear.
Nice.
But yeah, we got married Valentine's Day weekend. That was her choice, not mine.
So that was like the weekend of the 14th.
So on the 12th was the actual day we got married, but
I got married.
That was a Saturday.
The 28th. So literally 2 weeks later, just because I wanted to copy you. You
should have did it on a leap year.
Yeah.
Got married on February 29th.
Yes. So that's cool. You're
just to be different.
You're in prep right now, right? What's going on with that?
Yes. So, man, I wish I could remember everything that we talked about the last time we recorded. But so just a quick rundown. I got up to 262 pounds in October. Dave put the brakes on prep. I mean, on off season really quick because I was growing really fast.
Yeah.
On not quite as much food as you would think, and not very much in the way of supplements either. I'm a very, I believe the term is hyper responder, for lack of better words. So I don't need as much food or subs as other people in order to put on tissue. So he was like, we got to stop this right now or you're going to grow out of 212. So we started cutting back, and I have been as low as 207. I haven't weighed myself yet this morning, but I believe I should be somewhere around 210 and a half, 211.
Okay.
So, and we got 2 weeks to go. This is my best look ever. We're on pace. We're on pace. I'm very confident.
You know what I find very interesting is that you and everybody who watches Brass Tacks knows, Derik, you are a high energy guy. Being 2 weeks out, and we're recording this like super early in the morning. I gauge where I'm gauging you. We've only been on for a few minutes here, but where I'm gauging you is like, if this is normal, Derik, and this is like average people, you're still like right on. You might be down a little bit, like a little bit more subdued, but that like brings you down to like just chill, my level. You know what I'm saying? Like now we're on the. Just took the edge off of Derik a little bit. You're not like you don't look like you're suffering, like you're having a struggle every day. But I mean, I'm not saying it's not hard. I'm sure it's brutal, but you look like you've got like pop. Oh, it's an act.
It's an act.
Yeah,
it's an act. I feel like shit, and I felt like shit for weeks. Like but you know how it goes. You get to a point during the prep process where you get used to the feeling and. You kind of just realize, like, okay, like, I feel like shit. This is pretty much the way it's going to be until the show is done. So here we are. And then that's it. And then you just suck it up and deal with it.
Yeah. Acceptance. That's what that is,
Acceptance. Yeah. To use a Freudian terminology, Freudian psychology.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool, man. So what show is it that you'll be in?
New York Pro 212.
Hey, dude.
And me and Dave are extremely, extremely confident in my look, and neither of us have any doubts that I'm going to win this show.
Hell yeah,
honestly,
dude.
This is going to be the first pro win.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I look forward to it. I'll make sure we get some pictures up here too, so that everybody can see, what you've been posting. Dude, let's dive into some stuff. You put together like a ton of questions. There was one I really wanted to start with. You what? You went?
No, I was going to say I went through all the past episodes, all the YouTube content. I read everybody's stuff, and I just started looking for the most interesting ones. There were definitely some weird comments I thought about putting in just for funsies, but then I'm like, I don't know where I'm gonna be emotionally when we record this. So like, what I'm finding funny, what the Derik right now may find this funny, but the Derik in 2 weeks might find this irritating. So so let me just exclude that, just for the safety of all people involved, all parties involved.
Fair enough. Let's talk some training, man. You know what? Everybody has loved the training talk you've done on our programming, man. And there was one you had about arm growth, growing arms. I'm looking through all of this because there's a huge list here. Here it is, just best way to get bigger arms. You've gone through a few things before, but we can't assume that everybody has seen our previous content.
Right.
Take it away, man.
I'm really happy to revisit that. So obviously I can only speak from my perspective because that's what I know. Yeah. Because I know a lot of people who stare at a dumbbell and their arms get bigger, and then there are people like me who my arms have been my slowest growing body part in relation to the rest of me. So I've really had to research and dabble in a lot of different training methodologies until I just found something that worked for me. So if you have lagging arms like I used to, this is how I did it. I literally very first thing, and probably the most important, is I started training my arms the same way that I trained everything else. Huh. So I know a lot of people say that high reps for arms and then just driving as much blood into the muscle is the best way to do it. That is the best way to get a gnarly pump. I did not see as much muscle growth as I thought I would. My dog is over here playing with this ball and keeps dropping it on the floor so that he can chase it and go get it and then jump back on the couch. So what I mean is, so like, for example, how we do like a top set and a back off set, or where we go super heavy, 6 to 8 reps, 8 to 10 reps, something like that. And then for the second set, go a little bit lighter and go for a higher rep set. That's how I started training my arms. I've seen the most growth over the last 2.5 years. And that was about the time that I started training my arms in that fashion. So I just focused on getting super strong with arm movements, the same way that you would do for a bench press or a squat or whatever. So now I'm at a point where I can like alternating dumbbell curl with very strict form with like 65, 70s.
Good God, that's a lot of weight.
That's how I got bigger arms. I can do preacher curls with the same weight. And next thing would be exercise selection. So that is as simple as two things. One, finding the things that you connect with the most. Number two, whatever exercises can put you in the most stable and strict position. So like a perfect example would be like an incline, a curl on a bench, right? Or extensions where your back is against the pad. Anything where your upper body can't move, so that way the only movement is this lever point, your elbow, or curl or extension. And then just getting super strong with those things. For triceps, I incorporate a good number of compound movements. So my favorite exercises for that are dumbbell kickouts, which John Meadows did a lot. So basically you lay down on an inclined bench and you have a dumbbell in each hand and you basically do skull crushers kind of, but he calls them kickouts.
That's my all-time favorite tricep exercise, I think.
I love that. I love doing close grip press on the hammer strength, the lying down hammer strength machine.
Oh yeah.
And my third favorite is I like overhead extensions using the Smith machine.
Overhead extensions. No kidding.
So
okay.
So I set up the bench on a slight incline.
Yep.
And I move it really, really far forward so that the bar, when it comes down,
yep,
it's right here.
Oh.
And then I just push it straight up. And the reason why I came up with that is because I'm really strong with the dumbbells and they're kind of unwieldy to like sling it back behind my head, and I keep hitting the bench behind me. So I needed a new way to do it where I could continue to add more weight and progress and still get the range of motion and all the stuff that I needed out of it. So I started doing them on the Smith. That
became like almost the next progression to having done the dumbbell overhead like skull crushers, huh? Is what it sounds like.
Well, not the skull crusher. I mean, like if you grab a single dumbbell where you like have it over your head like this.
Oh, I got you. I misunderstood. Yeah. That can be brutal to try to get that dumbbell in position.
Not just that, but if you're using enough weight, the dumbbell's going to be big enough that most likely it's going to hit the bench or your head, and you're not going to be able to get the range of motion that you need.
Yeah.
Whereas the bar is skinny, so you can load the weight on the sides, so it doesn't get in the way.
You know that the dumbbell skull crusher, I found if I use a bar, like a cambered bar, my elbows get tweaked a lot easier. And I've had people who ask me like, hey, what can I do for my triceps? Because when I do skull crushers, I always hurt my elbows or whatever. And I feel like if you use the dumbbells, do you think it's that maybe like you're not locked into the same path with, the bar locks you into a specific path versus with the dumbbells, each arm can kind of do their individual thing. You know what I mean?
Right. So you have a little bit of freedom to move within a plane of motion.
Yeah.
Another thing too, though, if you are absolutely married to the cambered bar for skull crushers, just do them on the floor. Do dead stop.
Those are tough, man.
They're very tough, but you can standardize every single rep because you're stopping on the floor. Now, the key is don't make the mistake of bouncing it off the floor. That defeats the whole purpose. Yeah. And that's just more impact on your shoulder than you want. So you control the eccentric very slowly on the way down, gently touch the floor, let the bar come to a complete rest on the floor, and then drive it up hard. And make sure it's moving. So the bar is going to stay behind your head. So make sure it's moving in a straight line towards the ceiling, not forward and over your head.
Yeah.
That also alleviates a lot of pressure off both the elbow and the shoulder.
And it makes it a lot harder too.
And it makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But that means you're going to get better triceps out of it.
Okay, so what kind of rep ranges are you using? Because you're going real heavy, like you said, progressive overload with this stuff pretty much. What kind of reps would you do on an exercise like that?
I literally stay within the 8 to 12 rep range.
Nice.
I don't go any lower or any higher. Honestly, the only exercise that I go outside of that rep range is if I do like a rope extension. That's something where I'll go like in the 15 to 20 rep range. And I just, again, that's an exercise that I just use to drive as much blood in as possible, mostly because I can't add any more weight. So I don't really have a choice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And most people, if you're doing a lot of rope extensions and you're focused on progressive overload, it won't take you long before you're able to do the whole stack. So then you're forced to just do higher rep range.
So opposite direction then, I imagine that there's some people listening that are like, oh, I'm supposed to train it like my chest. And, I'm sure you're not doing like heavy singles for a tricep extension, but what would be the lowest you would ever go? That 8 to 12 still?
8. Yeah. Okay. 8 reps, 9 reps, 7. If I'm aiming for 8 and I'm really, really tired, like I am now. And, I just fail a little bit earlier than I expected, but definitely not below that.
Okay, cool, man. So heavy progressive overload.
Yep.
You're using and how many exercises? You mentioned 3 exercises. Would you do all 3 of those in the same workout?
No. So, that good point. Last point. I touched arms every single time I stepped into the gym. So if I trained 5 days a week, I did some form of arm movement 5 times a week. So like on my push day, obviously there's triceps at the end. So I'll do two tricep movements at the end. On pull day, there's biceps. I'll do two bicep movements. I also have a shoulder and arm day into my programming. And then at the beginning of legs, I'll either do a bicep or a tricep for 2 or 3 sets before I start my leg stuff.
Okay, nice. And how long have you been doing this for?
This exact split for about a year.
Okay.
But before that, the only difference is I just didn't have a shoulder and arm day. So it was just push pull legs, and I would still follow the same schematic that I just outlined to you. 2 tricep movements on push, 2 bicep on pull, and then either a bicep and or a tricep for 2 sets at the beginning of my leg day, and then I would go into all my leg stuff. Okay.
If you didn't have anything else on this, I think it could segue really well into you had another question that had come up on YouTube about how you do you mentioned like the 2 sets. I think it was that first question. No, that wasn't it. But you had something in here about like how do you perform these 2 sets if you're doing like a top set, back off set. What does that actually look like?
Why do you only do 2 working sets? What's the benefit, and how exactly is each set structured? Okay, so here's the reason why I do 2 working sets. So let's take a typical bro workout, right? Like, 3 sets of 12, 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12, whatever. How many of those sets are you actually taking to failure, right? So I would venture a guess that most people, your first 2 or 3 out of those 4 sets, you are not going to absolute failure. Why? Because after set 1, you still have 3 more sets to go to get through. Yeah. And if you blow your load too early, you're not going to get through the rest of it. You know that. So you save a little bit in the tank to make sure that you can make it to set 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many effective reps, to bring that term in, are you actually performing? How many reps are you actually doing that is building new muscle? And that's a lot of glycogen to use. So by the time you even get to set 4, you shouldn't realistically be doing the same weight that you would have been able to do on set 1.
Yeah.
So essentially set 1 and 2 end up being almost like warm-up sets leading into the final set. Yeah. So instead of doing it that way, why not? So this is how I do it, just to get into the question, because they asked me how I structure it. So I'll typically do 2 warm-up sets at least. The number of warm-up sets is definitely proportional to what movement I'm doing. Here's an example. If I'm doing an incline barbell, right, and I can do 4 plates for 8 reps. I'm going to start with 1 plate aside. I'm going to do 5 or 6 reps. I'm going to move up to 2 plates aside. I'm going to do probably 3 reps. I'm going to do 3 plates aside and do 2 reps. If I'm feeling really good, I'll just get right into my working set at 4 plates, my 4 for 8. If I'm feeling a little sluggish, then I'll do 3 1/4 just to give me just an extra warm-up set, do 1 or 2 reps, and then go into my top set.
Yeah.
So I save all of my glycogen for the set that is actually going to matter, the one that is actually going to challenge me, and the one that is actually going to produce new muscle growth. I don't see the point in wasting all of your glycogen on sets that are not going to produce new tissue.
I'm with you.
It's going to feel great. You're going to get a good pump, but okay, great. You have a pump. You mathematically, no new tissue was added because you didn't challenge yourself into those effective reps. So why not save your glycogen for the sets that matter? That's why I only do 2 working sets.
Yeah. And you see people, every day at every gym that are just doing that 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 12. Then they move on to the next exercise. 3 sets, 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12. And you know what? The majority of the time, you're not seeing growth. Like I'm talking people who are consistent, people who are eating food and showing up and working. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
then you see them a year later and they look exactly the same or more or less the same.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's important, man. I do.
And And then how is it structured? So I kind of mentioned this earlier when we were talking about the arm training, but basically my top set will depend on how I feel that day. It's either going to be in the 6 to 8 rep range if I'm feeling really, really good and the stars are aligned, typically 8 to 10 or 10 to 12. And then my second set, the back off, I will take whatever I did in my top set, drop the weight by anywhere from 25 to 40%, and then I'll shoot for a higher rep range. So let's say my top set my top set was 11 reps. Then on my back off set, I'm going to be shooting for a minimum of 15 reps, maybe even try to get closer to 20.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And the whole point of that is to try to address both myofibrillar hypertrophy and sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Myofibrillar hypertrophy, by definition, and by the research, shows that it typically happens in the 6 to 12 rep range, as long as you're taking the set to failure. And sarcoplasmic hypertrophy typically happens in the 15 to 20 plus, as long as you're taking the set to failure.
I like that. So you're, and you know, too, you never know. You might have some fibers that benefit from those higher reps, right?
Exactly. So what I picture in my head when I train and do things this way is that every muscle fiber has like a little light bulb attached to it, and my goal is to make all the light bulbs light up.
It's like a carnival.
That's how I think of it.
It's like a carnival.
It's kind of like a what?
Like a carnival.
Yeah, it's a game.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I picture a carnival game, and that kind of helps me as I'm mentally locking into what I'm trying to do.
Okay. Well, listen, what about then? So one of the other questions that you had here was, and this could tie right in too. We keep segueing here with all these training questions. We got some gear stuff too. But is training 6 days a week for a new lifter too much?
Well, here's my answer to that is, what's your recovery like? So this would be a perfect situation where you would have a logbook and keep track of everything. Yeah. So if you're training 6 days a week and your numbers are constantly progressing and you're getting stronger and you're seeing the visual improvements in your physique that you're looking for, why would you do anything different? And as a new lifter, chances are you're going to accelerate the progress that you're going to make. Now, if you are training 6 days a week and your numbers are not progressing and you notice that you don't feel energized and you feel tired and your digestion isn't working as well as it should and all of these other biofeedback markers are just not lining up, then chances are you're probably overstressing the body and you need to tailor it back. If you don't know how to recognize those signs, hire a coach, hire somebody that does know how to ask the right questions and find the right combination of things that'll work for you.
Yeah. What about, so, and I guess this kind of is part of that too. One of the first topics you had was discuss programming and periodization of off-season training to address needs. So I guess this would almost be like how to put all this together that we've been talking about.
Right. So exercise selection is obviously going to be paramount. You figure that out over time. So I could sit here and say, these are the best movements for X, Y, and Z if you want to address all of these different things. But those movements may not feel great to you. If you are a 6'1" bodybuilder, chances are barbell squats may not be the best option for you. You may not feel great doing them. You may find you have lower back problems or your knees hurt or whatever because of the distance you have to travel. So you find something that feels a little bit more comfortable and stable. So the first thing is just, with exercise selection, yes, start with the things that are known to be the most effective, and then tailor it based off of your specific body mechanics and what feels good for you. Periodization, where you're undulating your volume. I'll be honest, I've never done that simply because within the session, I'm addressing those multiple volume points. I'm doing the the lower rep, higher weight sets, and I'm doing the higher rep, lower weight sets within the same exercise. So I've never really felt the need to undulate. However, the main thing that you guys want to try and recognize is when you need a break. Pushing and banging your head against a brick wall all the time is not always the solution. Sometimes you may need, instead of taking 2 days off a week, take 3 or 4 days off a week. Maybe you need a whole week off if you've been going at it for 3-4 months. Take that time to rest and allow your body to kind of reset itself. And chances are you're going to come back and break through the plateaus that you may have been hitting prior to that. But ultimately, just looking at your body, seeing, especially if you're a competitor, look at where your deficiencies are, and then just make sure that you have the frequency to help you address those weak points. So if you have a weak back, maybe you should have 2 pull days a week. If you have a weak chest, maybe you should have 2 push days a week, and so on. Now,
what was I going to say? I had a thought. I had a question, and then I started listening. I was like, I'll ask him later, and then I totally forgot about it.
You're not in prep. You can't be doing stuff like this.
No, man.
You don't have prep brain right now.
I'm always like that. I have 24/7, 365 prep brain. No, okay. I was going to ask you. So, when you said, we're talking about like knowing when to take a break. I know you coach a lot of people, so you get to see a cross section of how various different people respond. Can you give us an average? If you had to put an average on it, how often does somebody need to take like a deload type week or cut back a little bit for a minute?
If you are experienced, if you are an experienced competitor, you typically recognize the signs. Your numbers won't be progressing. Now, that being said, if you're in prep for a show, your calories are coming down as you get closer to the show typically, and your cardio is going up typically as you get closer to the show. There will be a strength drop off. Yeah. Hopefully you train in a manner in which you can minimize that as much as possible, because that is the goal. But there will be a strength drop off, and you have to be okay with that. So don't think, oh no, my numbers are going down, I need a break. In a prep situation when you're close to a show, it's kind of par for the course. But if you have ample calories coming in, your sleep is good, digestion is working fine, you don't really have much emotional stress in your daily life, those are the things you want to look at first. After all of that, I would say if you go hard for like 8 to 10 weeks, that would be a good time to just program in. Either you can do it a few different ways. You can do a devolume week, so just cut your volume in half each session. Your workouts will be shorter. Still bring the same intensity, but your workouts will be much shorter. You'll be in and out quicker. Another option is just take extra rest days. So if you're taking 2 rest days a week, take 3 or 4. Or like a long weekend, so take like Thursday through Sunday off, use that to spend time with the family, go on like a little mini vacation, something like that. Or if you're really feeling beat up, then just take a whole week off. Don't be afraid to do it. Trust me, you're not going to lose any muscle in 7 days.
Dude, I feel like I haven't been able to train my legs as hard as I would like for over a year now, and they haven't lost size. I mean, I train a little, you know what I mean? But there you go. Yeah. I think if you build muscle through torturing yourself in the gym for years, it's not really going to go anywhere,
It's much easier than people think to maintain muscle than it is to build it. Once you have it, it's going to stay. It's going to take you would have to make a concerted effort to lose it.
And even then, man, I feel like I had periods that I wasn't able to train for a while, and it's like I used to be terrified that I would lose muscle if I went on vacation or something like that. I think
we've all been through that.
You know what I mean? But then you find like you run into a situation where you get really sick, you can't train for a month, and then you get back in. Maybe you weren't as full as you were before, but you get it going again, and you're like, hey, guess what? I'm pretty much exactly the same as I was,
Yep. You bounce back pretty much immediately. Muscle memory is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. We had some drug stuff, but before we got into that, I had a very important, you had a very important question here.
Okay. Oh God, which one is it?
Favorite pastas and cheesecakes.
Oh,
You're not. Should we even be talking about that right now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's in front of me.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I don't.
I'm gonna see if something bad happened, like like you went out and you just like lost your mind and you ate a whole cheesecake today. I'd feel really bad.
Dave?
I'd feel responsible then, partially.
Mr. Kalick would literally cut my nuts off and hang them on his wall if I did that. So that will not be happening.
Thank God.
Man, favorite pastas. I love a good bolognese with some garlic bread. And bolognese with garlic bread and fried mac and cheese balls.
Thank you for tuning in to another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media. If we've provided value to you today, then please consider contributing to our show. You can help support the show through Patreon. Every $5 helps to pay for the software and the hardware and everything else that goes into making a podcast. You can also contribute by using our code at True Nutrition. True Nutrition has been our title sponsor for several years now. I'm super grateful for them, and I've believed in True Nutrition supplements long before they sponsored our programming. You could use our code THINK for health supplements and performance supplements. Feel free to hit me up if you have any questions. And if you're in Canada, check out supplementsource.ca. They have free shipping over $99, huge discounts on overstocked, short-dated, and label-changed products. Plus, they have all your normal supplements too. Thank you guys for listening to the commercial. I hope you're having a great day and that your bodybuilding is going well. Let's get back to the show.
Bolognese with garlic bread and fried mac and cheese balls. And like with the marinara sauce that you dip it in. Oh,
that's
man,
good.
that's probably my favorite. Although I don't mind also like something simple like a simple like pasta Alfredo with salmon or chicken.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm a pretty simple dude. Cheesecake, red velvet.
Oh God.
And red velvet and Snickers cheesecake.
Oh, I don't think I ever had Snickers cheesecake before.
I had someone make me one from scratch.
Really?
Yeah, a cheesecake with Snickers bars in it.
Yeah. How does that work?
It'll change your life.
Is it like chopped up, or how did that work?
Yeah, so like what they did was they chopped they used minis and chopped them in half and used them to decorate the top.
Oh.
And then I guess they cut like little like smaller slices of it and infused it inside the actual cake itself. So you saw the ones on the top and then you got like little chewy surprises in the middle.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot, man.
Oh, you don't even know. I'm probably that's probably going to be my celebratory dessert.
You're gonna blow up too. You're gonna get like so freaking pumped. Veins everywhere.
No, honestly though, I'm gonna keep it in check. I'm really determined because I have that tendency, especially like, if I know, I win the New York Pro, the Olympias, and until December, I know me. I'm gonna be like, I got 7 months. I can chill out for a minute.
Yeah.
And
you come back on the show and your face is all like puffed up.
I know. I'll be put on 25 pounds in like a week. No, I can't. I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna keep it super tight. I'm gonna enjoy myself a tiny bit, but not the way that I used to, especially when I was an amateur. Ugh.
This is your time.
Bad.
This is your time, man, right now. Like
it is.
And like a lot of the people I think who watch the show, myself included, we really enjoy seeing you get to have this freaking awesome experience, because like me, I'm never going to end up at the stage at the New York Pro. So it's cool to be able to watch you do that. And I guess we all see you as being like, you've got a really cool opportunity here. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, this is your time. Cheesecake will always be there, right?
Cheesecake will always be there, but victory and glory last forever.
There you go. I like that.
And I do appreciate I appreciate all the love and support from yourself and everyone that watches the show. I apologize for not being on so long, but I've been very, very locked into all the goals that I've been trying to accomplish. Plus, everything that's been going on with my dad has been very, very stressful. I don't know if you've seen the post that I had put on Instagram. I'm not going to go too deep, but basically my dad had a liver transplant. He had cirrhosis of the liver. He had basically had liver failure, which is so freaking ridiculous because he never smoked, he never drank, he never did anything that you would think of that would be detrimental to an organ.
Yeah.
Yet somehow this thing happened to him. They found like a little cancer. They found a cancerous lesion on his liver. It was already failing due to the according to the numbers on his blood work. So he needed a liver transplant. So he moved down to Jacksonville in order to be able to be near the Mayo Clinic down here, which specializes in organ transplants.
Yeah.
But he had his surgery. I think it's been about a month now, a little over a month since he had the surgery, and that man's a warrior, man. He's getting back to normal life slowly but surely.
Hell
so
yeah.
It's been a blessing.
Good for him. That's cool, dude. That's really cool.
So the family's been going through quite a bit over the last few months, but that's been another fire that I've been able to tap into as I prep.
We do have.
I owe him an Olympia ticket.
We've got people hanging with us, and as a matter of fact, Nathan says this guy's been hiding for far too long. People are
far too long.
Have you back, man. So, Cheesecake Factory. Yeah, that sounds good.
Cheesecake Factory is my kryptonite. Same, especially that you know what really like gets me with the Cheesecake Factory is that menu is so damn big. It's overwhelming. I love the Cheesecake Factory, don't get me wrong, but I hate restaurants with giant menus because I don't ever know what to pick because there's always so many things that I like. Yeah. So I almost feel like obligated to eat way more than I should just so I can experience a bunch of different stuff.
I'll ask the waitress and be like, well, all this stuff, what do you recommend? What do people, and then she'll usually be like, everybody likes this item. And she's usually pretty right on the money with it. It's awesome, For sure. All right. Well, we did have some more stuff here, some more bodybuilding and a little bit more off topic. Let's move into the gear, man. Everybody likes talking about the gear.
Everybody likes talking about gear.
All right. Point of using high dose test or DECA that are tolerable only with AI or any or other drug. Is it not better to use a low dose you can manage and stack on top with other things? Talking about aromatizing AIS. If AI reducing overall estrogen, why not simply use lower doses of AIS instead?
My mantra is always get the most out of the absolute least. Now, that being said, there is a huge genetic component to this. What do I mean? There are some people who can use a little bit and get a shit ton out of it. And then there are people who have to use a lot to only get a little bit. Unfortunately, there is no way to change how your body does that. It's just a matter of how many receptors you have that are willing to accept different things. So, I mean, obviously, high dose and low dose is relative, but I can say this, like when I work with somebody, when I work with a client, and even for myself, I don't go above. So, like, let's say if I'm using tests, I don't go above 500 milligrams a week. Like that's the absolute highest I'll go. I have gone higher by order of a coach years ago, and it was probably the worst I've ever felt in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah, like it was. I immediately noticed a direct change in the amount of energy I had. My strength did not go up at all as a result of the increased dose. Like it was almost a gram of test. It was like 875 a week, and I felt absolutely horrible. And then the next coach I had, we never went above 400, and I felt absolutely incredible. Like that 3 to 400 range, 450 is like optimal. So I guess the best answer I can give to that question without like actually giving a prescription is don't go in with the intention of trying to use specific compounds and stacking things. Start with a little bit. Maybe just start with just test and start with like 250 or 300 a week. If you're making progress on 250 milligrams of test a week, why would you add more stuff?
Yeah.
What would be the purpose? And then just build from there. You will have way more longevity in the sport. You will make way more progress over a longer period of time. And above all, you'll stay healthier and your blood work will be better. And you won't have to hopefully use as much when you're years down the road. If you start off, guns blazing right away, there's nowhere for you to go from there but up. And you're just setting yourself up for disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah, I got to throw this comment up. This is from Betty McNally. She says, "Off topic, Scott, you need to take your mom to Cheesecake Factory."
Is that your mom?
Yeah, that's my mom.
You get called out on the podcast. Scott's not taking you. Listen, isn't Mother's Day coming up?
It's right around the corner now. Yeah.
Cheesecake Factory's calling your name. There's Mom, you're getting your birthday present. You're going to the Cheesecake Factory. If he doesn't take you, let me know. I'll handle it. I'll handle your light work. Don't worry about it.
I want to say something about if we can run a cycle and not have to use ancillaries, not have to control estrogen, all that stuff, that's freaking awesome. And I'm 100% with you. That said,
for sure,
I do think that if you do want to use more, if you plan to use more, and there are guys that are going to be using, and I think there is within reason. What's reason? I guess it all depends on, what your own perspective is. But I can tell you, guys at the state level shows who are trying to win, second place at, and just qualify, there's guys that are using a lot more than 500, 400 tests, 300 tests.
For sure.
And if you are using more, then that's where AI does come in. I mean, realistically, if you're creating a super physiological level of testosterone, you're going to have a super physiological level of estrogen too. That's just how it works. We don't want all that estrogen. What we're trying to do is increase those androgens, drive muscle up, but we need to keep that estrogen under control. I think that what you're talking about is a safer model. And I think that if you can make that work, I say go for it. If you do find yourself increasing the dose, that's where the AI comes in. And I feel like in the past that was real commonplace. And I do feel like nowadays people are starting to shy away from that, thinking like if you're using an AI, you're doing too much gear, which I don't know. Is it a bad thing? I'm not necessarily,
No. I guess, so when I answered the question, I answered it from the perspective of someone who, like, let's say is in off season trying to progress their body and gain more tissue. Yeah. And also I wish I wrote down the name of the person who asked the question, but when I found the question, I looked up the individual and it didn't look like they competed.
Yeah. Okay.
So it looked like it was
homework.
just,
you did your homework there.
Well, I wanted to make sure that I didn't just answer it with a broad brush, that I tried to at least apply it to the person themselves. So I went to go look to see, what they were about, were they a competitor or not, so that I could answer it from the best perspective that would help them. Yeah. So I guess when you think about it from someone who is a high-level competitor, competing at the state level, the regional level, trying to make it to nationals, you are going, especially when you're prepping for the show, you are going to use a lot more AAS, for sure. Across the board, it does it like we all do. So in that case, yes, you are going to use a variety of different things to control estrogen. My recommendation is to start off with like an aromasin, something that's a little bit lighter, doesn't affect your blood lipids as much. See where and get constant blood work when you're actually prepping for the show. So that's one thing that Dave has had me do that has been different this prep than every single other prep I've ever done in my life. Oh, really? Is no one's ever made me do blood work while I was in prep. It was usually beginning, end, and somewhere in the middle of off season.
Okay, yeah.
But Dave has made me do blood work multiple times this prep to make sure that everything was in order, that all my health markers were where they needed to be, liver, heart, all of those things, and also estrogen, estradiol. We've gotten that tested multiple times.
Nice.
So as he changed my AIs, we would get my estradiol tested to see how it was affecting, and was it going down? Was it stopping? Do we need to change things? Do we need to add more stuff? So the progression that in my opinion, people should look for is start with Aromacin, start with 12.5 or, depending on what the dose is of what you're getting, 15, 20, maybe every other day or a few times a week, see where that takes you, get your estradiol tested. And if that's bringing things down to at a nice pace, then you continue with that until it doesn't, then bring in Arimidex at a milligram, 3-4 days a week or every other day, or on the days that you pin, and just take that progression until you get to where you're trying to go for your physique. Just don't throw the kitchen sink at your body like most people do. Most people are just I need to get shredded right now, so I'm just going to start taking everything. Let's do it. But then they don't monitor anything, and then they wonder why they have all of these issues post-show.
Yeah, I love that idea. And if you're monitoring along the way and something starts looking weird, well, you can say it didn't look weird when we were doing this just several weeks, a couple month back or whatever. Then the changes we made might not be good for my health. Let's fix that, right?
Exactly. And if your health markers are where they need to be, your physique is going to respond the way it's supposed to.
I like that.
Plain and simple.
Cycle example utilizing different pathways, DHT derivatives with test and a nandrolone, for example. Is this beneficial? If my research, in my research, I see different drugs can interact with and fight for the same receptor. To use the use of test plus D-bol or nandrolone and PCT together seems less beneficial on paper.
Yeah. So when I saw this question, my first reaction was why are they thinking about using these compounds on a PCT? So first of all, I'm going to say this. I don't know how you feel about it, but I hate D-bol. I hate it. I hate how I feel when I take it. I hate what happens to my liver enzymes when I take it.
Yeah.
I'm very sensitive to it. That's just me. So when I take D-bol, my liver enzymes go through the freaking roof. My appetite sucks. And on top of all of that, I don't see the strength benefits that other people see when they use it. It's just not a good compound for me. I'm
similar but different. I love D-bol, but D-bol doesn't love me.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay, so
it kills my appetite like no other. So it gives me awesome benefit, awesome strength. I feel good. I'm feeling like I'm gonna just tear it up in the gym, but then my appetite goes to crap within the first 10 days, and then I can't eat anything. I can't grow.
Right. So I love food too much. That would really piss me off.
Yeah.
So I definitely had to. I read it a few times when I saw it in the comments just to make sure that I understood what they were asking. So I guess what they're asking is what combination of things they could use with test. That's kind of the way I understood it.
Yeah.
I'm really hesitant to make a prescription to somebody that I don't know when I don't know what they are, what their nutrition is like, how they train, blah, blah, blah. Everything needs to align. So I'm just going to default to start with test by itself, then eke out as much progress as you can. When you stop making progress, then add in another compound. If your goal is strength and size, man, it all depends, because Me personally, if I have a client in off season and they don't have any blood pressure issues and all of their red blood cell markers are good, I'm a huge fan of EQ, of equipoise. And if they don't get fat easily in the off season, because EQ I found really jacks up people. Not jacks up. Jack up as an increases people's appetite dramatically. And so, sometimes they will eat a little bit more than they should because of it. And if there's someone who puts on body fat really easily, probably not the best solution. So if you put on body fat really easily, then I would go with a DECA or an NPP. If you don't put on body fat as easily, I find EQ is a great compound. Honestly, one of the best off-season cycles I've run was test, SIP, EQ, and then a long ester Masteron. Okay. Because you get some of the anti-estrogen benefits from it. You get a little bit more hardness in your off season to the muscle than you would, and you get all the strength benefits of the EQ. That was probably the best cycle I've ever ran.
And at the end of the day, too, Masteron is going to be anabolic. It too is going to help with muscle growth without having. I think the biggest mistake I made was early in cycling. I did a few cycles in. I started out with D-ball only, 15 milligrams a week, 4 weeks, and then after that, I did test, and then I test in D-ball, and I did test in D-ball again, then I did test in DECA, and I got shut down really hard. So I was like, well, you know what? Why don't I just do more tests next time? Well, instead of doing test in DECA, I'll just do more tests. And I did more tests, and I got the worst side effects from that cycle, and I got really bad back acne. And the thing is that one of the reasons we could get more out of something like, say, test and Masteron is because that Masteron is going to help you to push those anabolic up higher, but it's not going to be as nasty on you as just taking more test. It's a milder alternative, or EQ. It's going to be a nice anabolic compound to add to that versus just taking more test, getting more side effects. A little bit of test, a little bit of EQ, maybe a little bit of Masteron in there. Better than just like a lot of test. For
right, because the EQ and the Masteron are gonna aromatize at a much lower rate than just test alone, and Masteron being the lowest aromatization of those three things that we just mentioned. I had one more thought that I wanted to add to that, and I had a McNally moment. And it's gone.
Well, you're on prep, so you can do that. You're 2 weeks out.
Speaking of which, I think I can get one more question in. I can feel myself starting to fade.
You fading?
Yeah, I'm fading a little bit.
I got a real important
fading, people. Just forgive me.
One more real important question. Yes. Favorite movies and TV shows?
Oh, this is an exciting one. I love this.
I threw you said movies, but I wanted to throw TV shows in there too. So that was a little me right there.
I'll be honest. I'll start with the TV shows first because that'll definitely be easier. I'll be honest. I don't watch a lot of shows per se. Yeah. Unless it's like anime. I'm a huge Japanese anime fan. Like super nerd.
We need that.
Yeah, but like in terms of just regular TV shows, honestly, my favorite one right now is it's on Hulu. It's called What We Do in the Shadows. So basically, it's like, have you ever watched The Office?
Yeah, of course.
Or like Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Okay, so picture that, but with vampires.
Is it a comedy or what?
Yeah, it's a comedy. It's super funny. So I'm trying to think of. Okay, so like. They basically take aspects of what we know about, vampires if they existed and turn them into parodies. So like, for example, like vampires kill people and drink their blood, right? They can't go into your house though, unless you invite them. Yeah. So there's like an episode where they're like trying to hunt this dude and eat him, and they get to his house and they can't go in to kill him because he hasn't invited them in. So the whole episode is them trying to figure out ways to like go to his house in disguises to get them to invite him into his house so that they can kill him.
And it's shot like
and it's just
Office.
Really Yeah, and they like they do like interviews like in between like each thing that happens. They'll interview the person.
Yeah,
it's literally just like The Office but with vampires. I like intellectual humor.
Yeah.
I don't like just stupid humor. I like things that obviously had some thought behind it. So I enjoy that show a lot. But movies, my top 3, they're actually all trilogies. Lord of the Rings. I can watch Lord of the Rings for like the rest of my life and be perfectly happy and never watch another movie ever again. Blade, the Blade trilogy with Wesley Snipes is my second, and the Matrix trilogy. Ooh. Those are my top 3.
The first
honorable mention.
That was my jam.
Wait, what was it?
First Matrix was my jam. That was great.
Oh yeah, it was so good. You know? Honorable mention is 300. I'll watch that sometimes, like the night before a show, just because it's like so hyper masculine and like it just gets me like really revved up.
Plus, you're like, I'm way bigger than all these jack dudes.
I've always wanted a Leonidas beard, but I've been too scared to grow it because I feel like it would make me look older. So
yeah, I embraced that. You're just like, yeah, I'm getting old.
No, I mean like his beard is like it comes down to like here, and it's like super pointy.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's a little much. You could do it. The younger you are while you do it, the more easily you'll be able to pull it off without looking older. Every year you wait, the older you'll look with it. So there's that.
Because the problem is that I get this little you can't really see it right now, but like I have this gray patch like right here where my finger is.
It makes you distinguished.
So, yeah, it makes you look distinguished. But if I grew my beard out like that, then I would look like I was in my 40s. So
fair enough.
So I don't.
Fair enough. All right, let's get out of here, man. Let you get some rest. What are you doing next today? What's the agenda look like?
I'm gonna eat again, and then I have a client actually in an hour, so I'm gonna eat really quick, head back to the gym, train my client. I got to train. I have pull today, and then second cardio session, and then at some point jump on the phone with Dave and discuss next. Me and him talk pretty much like every day.
No kidding.
Whether it's usually a phone call, but at the very least we'll have a text conversation pretty much every day. He'll send me pictures of like samurai warriors and shit to like keep me motivated.
Nice, man. Well, I'll be following along here for the next couple of weeks, following you into New York Pro. And dude, I got to tell you, man, it's been cool to see you and Dave connect and to be putting this together. And no matter how things go this season, man, we're all freaking behind you. But of course, we all want to see you fucking take it all the way in.
Damn right. I really appreciate it. This is awesome. And listen, I don't mind doing this again at least one more time, if not two, before the show. This was I'm pretty low energy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not as hyper annoying as I usually am.
We like that though. We like the hyper. People are like, oh my God, Weapon X has such good energy. Like they love it, man. They're like, this guy just loves shit, you know? But
so I apologize for not bringing the usual me. But this was a nice change of pace. This is a nice little offshoot from my routine, and it definitely, I forgot how hungry I was until like the last like 3. No, I enjoy our conversations. I enjoy reading the chat and having people in here. But so this was a nice distraction. So I don't mind doing these, every week into the show. Plus, yeah. I'm sure we have a lot more things that we could cover. We still have like what 5 or 6 other questions that we didn't even touch.
Oh yeah, plus, guys. By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment below with questions in that case. And,
absolutely,
we'll tackle them next time we get together.
So I appreciate you guys, and I'm glad to be back. Brass tacks. Oh yeah.